Hey guys, so I just wanted, I just wanted to do a quick stream, or maybe not a quick stream, but maybe like a night stream, because I just kind of felt like doing it. I hear the fireworks going off, right now, and I'm not going to really be able to sleep anyway, so, yeah, I just wanted to talk about this stuff. So, I have been meeting up with some friends of mine, some people that I haven't seen in a long time, catching up with them, and I've had some, really good conversations. And one of the conversations that I had is I was congratulating someone that I know for buying a house. Now, this person is 4 years, right? 4 years? No, 3 years, 3 years older than me. They're 36 years old, and they bought a house when they were 35 years old, a $900,000 house, and it's a beautiful house. It's in a good neighborhood, and it's close by their parents' house. And I've known this person for about 7 years, and what happened was that they were telling me, they said, "Oh, Erica, my dad was mowing the lawn, and I guess there's some sort of rechargeable battery for certain. I don't know if they were mowing the lawn, but they were doing some handiwork around the house, and they left the battery plugged in the garage, and the garage door was open. So they were kind of irked about it because they said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that my dad would do that. He's so absent-minded," because they were worried that the battery was going to get stolen. So we go over there, right? They say like, I gotta make a quick pit stop over to my place. So we go over there, we check it out, and sure enough, I see the battery, and I tell them, I said, it's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. And they're like, yeah, but the battery, this thing was like $100. I think it was a drill battery, if I remember correctly now. So it wasn't that big, right? But they were telling me, they said, oh, it's $100. And I said, well, wait, hold up a second. Hold up a second. Don't get so hyper focused about the freaking battery getting lost, but hold on to the fact that your dad went and did some handiwork around the house, or he's mowing the lawn, because even though he's absent-minded, he's doing it because he cares. He cares. And I think they get paid about $20 to like mow the grass or something. But yeah, so this person was telling me, they said, yeah, you're right, Erica. And I said, yeah, one day your dad will pass away, your mom will pass away, and you're gonna look back and you're gonna say, I remember when my parents swung over to help me out with my yard, and they're not here anymore. And I said, yeah, so never get mad and never get pissed off at your parents about the freaking battery, because again, you can always replace the battery, but you should not take the time that you have with your parents for granted. And I say this, as a person that I've lost family members in my life, right? And it's like you look at things at a different light. You see it as, it's like, yeah, maybe it was kind of stupid, maybe there was some stupid fights here and there, but at the end of it, it's like whatever squabble you had seems so insignificant when that person is gone. And for anybody who's listening at this stuff, and if you guys say, well, Erica, that's kind of mushy, it's not going to happen to me, it will happen to you. The people around you, if you're listening to the stream, the people around you will die, and you will die yourself. But what you can do is you can hold on to the good people in your life, because I find, right, sometimes we say things that we don't mean. I don't really do that anymore, really, to be honest with you, because I'm mindful about that, right? But sometimes we say things we don't mean, or we do actions we don't mean to take, or we omit something that maybe we were so embarrassed to tell someone that they had like this certain misunderstanding or so. So I've looked at time, and I've looked at it a whole different way, for sure, 100%. So I chose to put this quote over here that says, never test good people because they're like diamonds. When you hit them, they will not break, but they will only slip away from your life. So again, for my friend, right, their dad mowing their lawn or screwing something inside, recharging the drill battery. I really think it was the drill battery. Yeah, it was too small to be like I said, it's too small to be a lawnmower or anything like that. But kind of hold that against them, right? Or to act agitated about it, like that's focusing on the wrong kind of thing. Drills will break, right? Electronics will break. Sometimes we'll lose things. Sometimes we'll get stolen. But what we cannot lose, or what I hope we don't lose, is our memories of people while they're alive. And I have really held on to, all the good memories that I've had with people. I've had people, I don't know what it is, but I've had people like reach out to me out from the woodworks. And some people, they want to talk, they want to catch up. Some people, they don't feel comfortable telling me things over the phone, or they don't feel comfortable messaging me, so they rather see me in person. And because of that, right, because it's so much, right, because of that, that's why it's like sometimes like I feel so drained, because I think like, oh my gosh, and then yeah, it's just like a lot to take in. Like sometimes I hear things like people have regrets. They say like, oh, I should have done this, or they talk down on themselves, or they only see the negative. And yeah, so I've heard some people tell me things like, oh, they wish they were farther ahead at life. And I'm like, what do you mean you're farther ahead of life? And they say, oh, I wish I had kids. And I was like, look, you have a girlfriend. If you want, you can pop out a kid like in 9 months if you really want to have a kid. Like, don't say that's a regret, right? Like, that's ridiculous. A regret is something that you can't do. It's not something that you haven't done yet. You see where I'm getting at? So, that kind of thing. So sometimes I hear people's regrets or what they feel like is a shortcoming. I'm like, it's really not a fucking shortcoming. Like, don't tell me, oh, I wish I already had a kid, and you're not even trying to have a kid, or you're not even, and you say like, oh, I feel like I'm behind on my peers because I don't have a kid yet. It's like, oh gosh, like they feel that way, and I look at that, I'm like, yeah, I know you want to settle down and have a family, but like I said, you have a partner, right? You can settle down if you want to, if you choose to. But I've also mentioned, right? Make sure you get a prenup. I'm a big fan of getting a prenup, and I'll share this with you guys too. The other thing that I'm really big at having as well is, and I know some people find this really offensive, but I'm also really big on having a DNA test. And I know people would say, well, Erica, doesn't that allude to something? Here's the thing. If I had a kid, right, and I was just, if I had a kid, whoever my kid's father is, I want that kid to know, I want the father of the child to know that that's their kid. You see? So sometimes it's like people, I've seen it on like, was it the Springer Show or the Maury Show? Something like that. Where a man has a child and his wife or his girlfriend says, oh, that's your kid. And then a couple years come by and they're like, wait, I don't think that's my kid. The kid doesn't look like me. That would all be settled 100% if they did a DNA test after the kid was born. So, right? Kid is born, maybe a couple days later, same day. I don't know when they can do it. Within the first month of where the kid is born, sooner the better. Do a DNA test. Do a DNA test to make sure whoever is assumed to be the father really is the father, because it gets things out of the way. In the event, right? Let's say both parents are blondes, and then the kid ends up being a redhead or something. Right? If you do a DNA test, there is zero question about who the father is. You already know who the mother is, but yeah, there's no question about who the father of that child is. And there isn't going to be any distrust. There isn't going to be any concern about legitimacy in terms of like, oh, is that really? Because I've heard about cases where people have kids and then one kid is maybe there'll be 3 kids, right? So a guy will spend 20 years of his life taking care of these 3 kids, thinking those are his biological kids. And then it comes out that the wife was having an affair. And they do a DNA test and they find out all 3 kids are not the husband's. And it's like absolutely blowing. So during that time, right, the husband can say, he can say basically, F that, I don't want to take care of these kids. I'm going to drop these kids. But sometimes I hear things where they say, even though this is not my kid biologically, I will step up and I will continue to raise these kids because I consider these to be my kids, even though they're not biologically mine. And I think that takes a strength of a lot of strength. A lot of guys cannot handle that fact, but I think, yeah, it's not just genetics, but I think it's also the closeness. I have zero problem with people, of course, adopting or having stepchildren or anything like that. I think it's a great thing. I really do. But yeah, sometimes people are too tied over to genetics. But again, if a kid is born and there's this assumption that it's a biological kid of a male, then it should be checked out just to make sure that in fact is the biological kid of the whoever's assumed to be the father. Because yeah, it wastes a lot of time to just go through life and not know otherwise. So the other thing that I wanted to, so that was another thing on my mind as well. And yeah, so there's nothing offensive about it. I was having a conversation, and like I said, someone I know, they were telling me, they said, oh, they're thinking about getting married soon. And I said, oh, of course, get a prenup. And they're like, nah, Erica, I don't need to get a prenup. If I get a prenup, that means I don't trust her. And I said, look, I'm just not worried about trust or not, but it's really thinking about making sure you protect your assets. So, for instance, right, if you get married, and if you have a relationship with someone, then I think marriages, this is just my opinion, but I think marriages benefit from having a joint account. It doesn't have to be everything, but there should actually be a joint account in there. And I think that it's very important for a couple to be comfortable with talking about finances. As in, if you know that you have a joint account, it's not like, oh, okay, well, we have a bill to pay. Okay, you put in 500 and I'll put in 500. Because if it gets to that kind of thing, like, it kind of grates me when I hear about like separate accounts like that. It just makes me think like, ugh. So you'll never have a joint account. It'll be like his account, her bank account, and yeah, nobody can touch other person's money. Now, I'm okay if people have a side bank account, but I do think, there should be money going into a joint account. I've known couples, and I'm talking about like the older school generation, they have joint accounts and there's zero problems with it. But I do hear about, actually, now that I go backtrack, I do know people with, one person, they had a joint bank account, and then the wife kind of screwed them over because he wasn't keeping track of the finances, and she was charging things he didn't know about it because he wasn't looking at his bank account. And yeah, so if you have a joint bank account, I think that it promotes teamwork. It promotes couples working together, and they look at finances and they say, hey, okay, so we have this much money coming in. Okay, let's look at our expenses. Okay, we got like a $600 credit card bill. Let's talk about what that payment is. Now, I'm not saying, cut all the spending, but what I'm saying is that if you are a couple, you should be comfortable about talking about like, okay, maybe let's see what we can cut. Let's see what we can, maybe we can allocate more funds towards this thing. It's like financial pitfalls or financial issues. I don't think, if it's like a spending issue, right, like a mountain of debt, unless one person loses their job or two people loses their job and that's what causes it, it doesn't happen overnight. That is just my opinion here. Sometimes you hear about couples where they end up in like $30,000 in debt and one person is completely blindsided. My question is like, why wasn't anybody checking? Why didn't anybody like kind of notice like, hey, we're $500 in debt now, we're $1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. See all that kind of stuff? Like, yeah, that kind of stuff. It's just important. So let me see. So I see that Ziamara says, don't get married. Here's the thing. I think that this is my thoughts. I think that if people don't get married, and this is just, again, my opinion, what it sends the message is you got to always be on your toes because you don't know if you don't have that security, right? What if you spend 15 years with the person, you have a kid, you don't know, right? You don't know if your baby daddy is going to be walking out on you randomly, and they'll be like, oh, well, there's no consequences because, yeah, we're not married. I can have 5 baby mamas if I want, and no one's going to take bad eye because we're not married. So, yeah, it's like not getting married, in my opinion, really protects traditionally, right? It really protects the breadwinners who tend to be guys. And this is not a sexist thing. This is just me stating, like, I really feel like males tend to make more money than females. Yeah. So, yeah, if you don't want to get married, right, I would say for the woman, don't get too comfortable. Don't think that whatever, you don't think that, yeah, everything is, you don't have to worry about your baby daddy leaving you, because I feel like a guy would be more responsible if he has a child with a woman that he's married to, and then the kid has his last name, rather than like a hyphenated name or something like that. So, yeah, I personally would not want to bring a kid into the world unless I was married to whoever the child's father is. You see? Because it's like I wouldn't want to send the message to the kid, if I did ever have a kid, along the lines of, your dad did not trust me but enough, right, to marry me, but we hope that you feel comfortable having a kid with someone else, knowing that your own mother, like your own father, doesn't trust your mother for whatever reason. And that is very, very controversial here, but it's true. I don't want to send the message that, yeah, we didn't get married because your father has trust issues against me. You see? And yeah, so I hear about the advocation of that, and I think sometimes it like sends the message like, y'all gonna just live a bachelor lifestyle, and I'm just, you know what? Like, yeah, some people are fine with it, but some people, they want to have that, like, what feels to be this little comfortable space, right? A lot of people, right, like, their parents are married, and yeah, divorces happen. I hear about divorces happening, but I think to just be all like, I'm gonna treat you women and keep you away with like a 6 foot stick or a 10 foot pole. Like, I'm not gonna let you get anything of mine because, yeah, I think you're gonna screw me over, or, I don't want it's, yeah, that kind of stuff. It's like, it makes me uncomfortable to kind of think about that. So I'm a big fan of, women having financial security, for whatever reason, because, yeah, from what I have seen, right, it's like sometimes women get real shafted. I've shared with you guys this story. Like, I have a friend's mom. She stood by her husband's side. I thought they were a really great couple. I'm not gonna lie. And what happened is he cheated on her. He cheated on her, once, and then she ended up with some sort of health issue, and then he cheated on her again. And he just found it so much more convenient to just move on to another woman. And yeah, the wife, right? She ended up getting screwed over because she spent so many years of her life taking care of the kids that she didn't have financial security. And the husband was such an asshole, and you know what he did? Instead of handling the divorce gracefully, that she filed gracefully, he decided, because he held the money, he was not going to pay for the mortgage of the house. So the house went into foreclosure. Yeah. So he did that to his wife of 20, I think it was like 20 years. Had to be over 20 years. The wife of over 20 years, who stayed with his ass even when when he was broke and they were living in a car. That's how he repaid his loyal wife. And that's something that I heard about when I was like around college. Yeah, when I was in college, I heard about this story. Like, it was already going on when I was in high school, but college, I heard about, that she divorced him, and the little details, and I was shocked. I was like, damn, I knew these two people, frick. And yeah, now, of course, right, I'm older and I hear more stories about what things go on, and I just kind of think to my head, like, yeah, if women, if they don't have a security net, and let's say they have a kid down the line, who's to say that the guy's not going to screw the woman over in 20 years? Right? Like, she could be like, oh, everything is fine, everything is dandy, and yeah, she can get completely fucked over. Big time. Yeah. So I mean, like, yeah. So I just kind of think about that kind of stuff, and I just think, like, sometimes when I hear about all this thing, like, oh, men need to protect their assets, people don't focus on like how much women can get shafted as well. Like 100% women can get shafted because it's like women end up with the kids and single mothers, right? Sometimes they got dads who don't want to pay the baby daddy don't want to pay child support, and then the single mother is like totally screwed over. She has to go ahead and support herself plus her kid or her kids. And then the baby daddy's like, oh, hey, women, I'm single. I'm ready to mingle. You want to have a kid? And, it's like it absolves some guys from responsibility because, yeah, it's like the woman has to shoulder that responsibility. I'm not saying all guys are like that, but I imagine it's easier to prance around the world when you don't have any kids holding you back and you're just like, oh, whatever. Yeah, I can just sleep around, have a good time, and F it. I don't care. And yeah, even like the one night stand stuff, right? Like, a guy knocks up a woman, the woman gets pregnant. If she doesn't know who her baby daddy is, right? Let's say she was partying and she got drunk or whatever, right? Or she just hooked up. Yeah, what if she has some guy's kid and she doesn't know who the baby daddy is? It's like, yikes, that's even worse, right? Then the guy has zero child support to pay because the woman can't track the guy down, possibly. So there again, women have a lot of that kind of liabilities on them. And then if you're a single mother, sometimes, like, people, they say like they don't want to date single mothers at all because single mother has extra baggage. In fact, right, I've had conversations with people recently where they'll tell me stuff like, oh yeah, so and so's looking for a girlfriend, and I was like, oh, they haven't found anyone. They're like, ah, yeah, they haven't found anyone hot enough, and the only people that's kind of like hot but they don't want is like single mothers. And I'm like, okay. Okay, so yeah, they rather be single than deal with the single mother. And I'm like, that sucks, because you figure, right, if anybody has a kid and they end up getting divorced or widowed, they're gonna be a single parent. It's not like it's like very rare for someone to find themselves in that situation. See where I'm getting at? Let's say, well, I've never heard about that. Yeah. So I'm like, it's like 10:30 right now, so it's early enough where, I don't feel like super tired right now. I feel kind of more awake, but that could just be because I had caffeine not too long ago. But yeah, so it is 10:33 p.m. right now. Yeah. So yeah, and then but yeah, I think it's very important to have a prenup because I do know lawyer fees can get very, very expensive. Someone I know, right, they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars, like over $5,000 a month on lawyer fees. Yeah, not good. Not good. Super, super pricey. And I think part of it is because they didn't have a prenup, so things can get really ugly. Again, I don't think prenups are a bad thing. I think it's like, I see it purely as a financial thing where, like, okay, this is the law. This is what we're gonna lay out in terms of assets, and yeah. But yeah, so that kind of thing. It's very important to be mindful. Now you gotta have, I imagine, like, unless people have the same kind of thinking, right? Whoever brings up the prenup, you gotta do it with tact. You just gotta be like, hey, I hope this kind of thing works out, but if it doesn't, I really want to have a prenup, just because, like, I'm not saying it's not gonna work. I hope we never have to use a prenup, but at least it kind of lays down what everybody's assets is. Like, you have, I don't know, $3,000 to your name right now, and you own this car. You know, it's just it's good to kind of lay it down, because you don't want someone being all like, oh well, you know, this was mine, and you can't really prove it. Or they say, oh yeah, well, we got a house together. Oh no, 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 you know, it seems like it was a gift. It's like that can get really ugly, really ugly. But prenups at least state what people had before. After, right after whatever the marriage is, then if you get married, and I might be remembering it wrong, but things are kind of split. You know, like if you acquire assets, then I hear that's split in half if they can't come to a compromise. But I might be remembering it wrong, for sure. It's not preparing for divorce. It's just having a what if situation, right? A what if situation, because you don't know if people change. You don't know if your Prince Charming turns into like my friend's dad, right? Who it's like they got divorced, and it just turned into a really ugly thing. Now, I don't know what the mom's assets were. I think she had very little assets because she was a housewife, and but at least, you know, at least things would be kind of straightforward. And here's the other thing too. Like, I really think it's important to have a job as a woman, because like in the event, let's say you get married, right? Or in the event that you have some sort of thing, if a guy has like, you know, if a guy can try to bury you in lawyer fees, for sure. And it's not just a guy, it's like whoever's making more money. So for instance, right, let's say you're making $30,000 a year. Your partner makes $100,000 a year. Your partner has more financial ability to kill you with 1,000 paper cuts in lawyer fees, rather than, you know, you would feel the pain much more than that kind of person. Now, if you are dating a person, or if you're married to a person who's a multimillionaire, right? If they really wanted to like drive the knife into you, they would say, you know what? Let's not even solve this. Let's just settle this out in court, and then you're gonna end up with like $70,000 in lawyer fees trying to settle this thing. And yeah, that's what a person who with a big pay disparity could do if they really, really, really wanted to do that, right? You know what I'm talking about, like extending things, making sure that things get dragged out. Oh. I've heard of like some. I've heard about some people using those kind of tactics where it's just like, oh my gosh, this could have been so straightforward, but then the bigger power, the bigger earner is just kind of like playing a game to just make things more stressful for the lower earner. So, right, the lower earner, like I said, the lower earner is going to feel more pain than the bigger earner. Like, okay, the big earner lost $50,000. Like, okay, whatever, right? But if you're only making $30,000 and you end up with $50,000 in lawyer fees, it's going to drive you crazy. It will. But yeah, it's not just the fees, fighting over kids, whether you want them or not. Often the real wedge issue is the money worth the pain for the kids. It depends. I don't know how, like, I guess it depends. Like, I don't know financial situation, but sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I don't know. But yeah, those freaking lawyer fees are like killer from what I hear. Oh yeah, so Jim says, I know about it secondhand. My wife's best friend got screwed because she couldn't pay legal fees. Yeah, legal fees eat up a lot of money. A ton and ton and ton of money. So for instance, right, let's say you have a case, right? And then the judgment is, let's say, $900,000. Don't be surprised if the freaking lawyers eat $300,000 of a case, right? It's like, ouch, ouch, holy crap, that's a lot of lawyer fees. So, that kind of stuff is not good. So yeah, yeah. When I talk to some people, like I know people are around the marriage age, and some people want to get married, but yeah, they sometimes they have like guys they're hesitant about making a prenup, and I get it. You know, they come from this like old school kind of thinking where their parents didn't have prenups, so they don't want to get prenups. But again, you know, I don't see anything wrong about a prenup at all. I think it's not a bad thing to do for sure. It's not, like I said, it's not offensive, but it's like that way you don't have to worry like in the back of your head about, let's say, someone's screwing you over kind of thing. And yeah, less legal fees in the future, right? Because it won't be all like he said, she said kind of thing. Yeah. Before my parents got married, they agreed on no divorce if they would break down at home and their home. The one packs his stuff and walks away. Oh, jeez. So what does so what? One person goes penniless? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. Hey, Aaron. Yeah, so I think now it's, you know, you hear about the divorce rates being high, and yeah, I think about like the way the state of society is now, and it makes me a little, I don't know, it makes me a little bit more cautious at the idea. Like I think marriage is a beautiful thing, but I think that there's so much animosity towards marriage. It's almost like people are getting scared. People are scared of getting married, and then if they do get married, they're scared of talking about the prenup. And if they're scared about talking about the prenup, then they think like, oh shit, I better not just get married at all. But then, right, again, a woman might say she doesn't want to have kids unless she gets married because she wants to bring a kid into the world where the parents are married. And I am one of those people. You know, I'm one of those people where it's like, I don't want to deal with like, you know, a guy where he tells me, oh yeah, like I said, right? I'm gonna have like six baby mamas. It's like, and you're gonna be okay with it. I hear about the things like Nick Cannon, for instance. Nick Cannon is like, I think he had like 4 or 6 kids within the. No, he has like 4 kids within the last year. I mean, that guy is freaking busy. And these are all his baby mamas. Now he has enough child support, right? He has enough money to fund all of these baby mamas because he's a multimillionaire. But I can't help but think what the baby mamas think. They might be okay with it, but for me personally, like I wouldn't want to be like, okay, you're baby mama number one, and I'm gonna get baby mama number two, and mama number three, and oh, it just irritates me. And then right, and then what would you do if you're in that situation? The guy's gonna be like, oh well, you know, you knew what you were getting yourself up for because we're not married, so you have zero say in this kind of thing. Like it's like, yeah, you could say, well, Erica, you know, a person doesn't have to listen to marriage. They can still have a kid outside of marriage, and I would say, yeah, that's the case, but I feel like people are less likely to do that kind of stuff if they are married. Just my thoughts. Just my thoughts. Yeah. Yeah. So Jim says, was it Jim? That's why I told my daughters, yeah, I don't care if they live with someone and don't get married unless kids are involved. Yeah, I personally don't feel. I don't understand that mentality. How can you be involved? How can you be a father? Okay, here's the thing, Jim. Here's the thing, okay? If I had to place myself in a guy's situation, this is what I would say. All right, I would say I'm a knock up as much women as I can because they're beautiful. They're beautiful. So I don't care about the repercussions if I don't make that much money anyway, right? Let's just say I don't make that much money, right? It's like good luck trying to get child support, right? It's like the guy can just sleep around and then the women have to struggle to to pay bills, right? Because she has to support her and then her kid And again, I really feel like a lot of women, once they have kids, once they're single mothers, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, it's hard for them to get another guy in their life, because this is from my personal experience. I've had conversations, very recent conversations with individuals where they tell me, right, their friends don't want to date people who are single mothers because they don't want to take care of a kid that's not there. So if you are, let's say, being a baby mama, like if you want to be a baby mama to a rapper or something, I get it. A famous actor, like, I get it, right? Or model, like, I get it. Like if the guy's like loaded and it's like cool to be one of his baby mamas or something, because I know there are a few people like that. I understand it, but if you want to be like baby mama to a guy who is like 7 kids already, and he doesn't make that much money, and it's like the baby mamas have to like struggle to get, I don't know, like a $50 from the baby daddy because he has so many freaking kids. It's like, I don't get why another woman would want to be like, oh, I wanna be the next baby mama to this guy. Like, why would you put yourself in this predicament? I don't get it. I really don't get it. And yeah, 100%. Like, I would never, ever, 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 ever want to put myself in that kind of freaking situation where I'm like baby mama. See, it's just weird. Yeah, I mean, like, it's easy. It's easy for a guy. It's easy for a guy to be a deadbeat dad and just be like, I don't want to get involved with my kids' lives because I just want to knock up more women or just play the field. I don't want to be tied down by a woman. I want to be a wild stallion. Like, I get it. I get it. It sounds like living like a great like life where you're just like a Casanova of sorts, right? You're just like Casanova or Don Juan or whatever, right? Where you're just like, oh, I am so in sexual demand that women want to have my kids, and I'm gonna go out, and after I have a kid, I'm gonna go out and try to find another woman to impregnate, and then I'll spread my seed around the world, kind of thing. I'm like, but the real victims, I'm gonna say this, like, I really think the real victims are like all those baby mamas, all the kids. It's because they don't have the individual attention of their dad if the dad is not freaking around and he's too busy sleeping with other women. See? Okay, so Nusa says, think about it. Tomorrow you discover you're pregnant. Is that all by itself sufficient reason to marry a guy? You know what? I've actually had this conversation with a few people. I will say that if I myself was pregnant, would that be sufficient reason? You would really have to figure out on a touch case by case basis, right? You gotta think like, is the person that you're with, right? Did you intend to have a kid, or is this a hookup? Because if it's like it's a Tinder hookup or something like that, then you probably don't want to have a kid with that person, right? You probably don't even know them. You probably don't even know what their favorite color is, or what their favorite food is, because yeah. So would I say, would if you have like a Tinder hookup, would that be sufficient enough reason to marry a person? My answer, no. Definitely not. I'm actually, and people will give me shit about this, but I'm actually very much pro-choice. Because I feel like there are going to be people out there in the world who are not ready to have kids, or they'll have kids by mistake. They maybe they have a bad circumstance. I'm not going to say what it is, but you know what it is. It starts with an R. And I don't think they should be punished about having their attacker's kid, for sure. But for people, it's like they're in a relationship. Let's say they accidentally got knocked up, and they feel like they have a stable relationship. Then they need to talk amongst themselves and say, what do you want to do? Do you want to get married? Do you feel comfortable getting married, or do you want to just have it the way it is, where we're not married, and yeah, that's it. I personally think that if a person is in a stable relationship and one person gets knocked up, I think they should get married if they feel comfortable with it. But if they're not, then yeah, But then don't be afraid to have that kind of conversation where someone says like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm pregnant. I'm not ready to have the kid." And then the other person says like, "Oh, I think you should have the kid." But if the mother chooses not to keep the kid, like you can't hold that against her because it's really her body. You see? And I know people would say, "Well, what about the guy?" It's like, well, ultimately, right? It's like the woman has to make the decision. Does she want to have the kid inside of her for to raise it for 9 months? And if she doesn't want to, then it is what it is. Cause yeah, I think sometimes like people glorify having kids too. Like kids, in my opinion, are a huge responsibility. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, I think, I think like having kids, you gotta be mentally prepared for having a kid. Yeah, I know some people would say, Erica, you can never time it right. You're right. I mean, I can't say I've never had a kid, right? But I imagine it's like a huge responsibility. You feel like you gotta have your life kind of like in order, right? You gotta think like, okay, am I mentally prepared to have a kid? Because it's not just having the kid, it's also dedicating like 18 years of your life towards that kid. Making sure that you take them to their appointments, to school, pick them up from school, take them to their dance recital, whatever, right? Um, their little school play. um, Not just that, right? Before that, right? You got to change the diapers. You got to teach them to walk. All that stuff. That's a huge freaking responsibility. And yeah, I used to have this dream before where I said, man, I really would like to be a stay-at-home mom one day. All right, that was always my thing, right? And I've shared this with you guys. Like, I always thought, like, man, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and then that way I can just raise the kids and make sure the kid is raised right. But the more I think about it, the more I think, like, man, I don't think that's realistic. And I'm not just talking about the finances thing, right? Just like the whole thing. Because I know some people would say, well, yeah, Erica, if a person wants to be a stay at home mom, then the other person has to make a lot of money. But I would say that I really think that moms should work at least part time. Because like if she's not working, if she's not working, right, it's like she's not advancing her nest egg for whatever reason it is. And like I said, my friend's mom got royally screwed because she just took care of the kids and she never furthered her finances. See, so you always got to prepare, like what if something happens, right? Or what if, right, what if you have a kid with your baby daddy, right? Your baby, let's say you have a kid with your baby daddy, aka boyfriend, and then um the boyfriend or baby daddy dies. Then what? You're not gonna get you yourself might not get anything, right? The kid might have it, but then you have to take it to probate court if he doesn't have a will, and it can get pretty ugly. It's not right away, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, yikes. Gotta be prepared, because it's like if you're relying on like someone's income and something happens to your baby daddy, then yeah, there goes your little financial security, or your little nest egg that you're thinking and just assuming it all on one person, right? What if a person gets kidnapped or that kind of stuff, right? You don't want to let the mom be stuck with the bill in case anything freaking happens, because then, right, she or yeah, going back to what I was saying, right? Imagine there's four women. They have one baby daddy. Baby daddy makes $40,000 a year, and then baby daddy dies with $5,000 in his bank account. And all those moms, all those baby mamas, they only get what, $1,000 each. Like that. That's not gonna support them for the next 18 years, depending on how old the kid is. So, yeah. It's very important, that kind of stuff. And I'm just assuming, like, what if you have like four baby mamas who aren't working, that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, you know what the thing is? So Anya says, I think society should help parents of unborn children, not punish them. Because society, you know what the thing is? It's hard because it's like we already have social services here in the United States. We have things like WIC, we have food stamps, we got, low income housing, um, all sorts of things. But I don't think it's enough. To be frank with you, like, I think, like, kids, like, kids require, like, a freaking village, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of resources. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of cost. So if someone is a single parent, like, I have, it's like, I just pray for the best for them because it's like, wow, so much work for two people to raise one kid. It's like one kid for one parent or two kids for one parent. Oh my gosh, that's mad respect over there because that's a lot of freaking work. I don't think, for instance, right, I don't think I could ever be a good single parent because it's like there would only be one of me and I don't think I could balance very well at all. So John says the reason why I don't have kids is because of the huge commitment and responsibility. So I decided to work hard and have enough financial security. I regret that now. You know what it reminded me of? You remember that movie Idiocracy? You guys can look that up. Idiocracy. They were saying about how this like basically people. I'm just gonna be frank here, like rednecks. That's what they describe them in the movies. Like they have like a whole bunch of freaking kids, and then you got like the college professionals or something waiting to have kids until they're like 40, and then yeah, maybe they find they can't have kids when they're 40 years old, and yeah, then they die without kids while the rednecks have like 50 kids or something. I was like, at first I was like, this is ridiculous, and then I look around and I'm like, yeah, I feel like some people, they're just really cautious about having kids. They overthink that kind of stuff. So yeah, for me, I'm just like if anybody asked me like, oh, when do you want to have kids, Erica? I'd be like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. But I do not want to be a single parent, 100%. So I would never ever have like a baby daddy or anything like that because I see people who are baby mamas and I'm like, nah, I don't want that kind. And I would not want to, yeah, I just like, I like the idea of having security, right? It's like, I think about the way, when I was younger, right, I had two parents always there for me. And I was really fortunate. I was really blessed to have both of my parents. Yeah, so I got to, I was, I was growing up, and then my mom was always around, and she watched over me. My dad had a job. He still has a job, by the way. My mom was like, she was always like spending time with me, and I really appreciated that. I thought that was such a beautiful thing, and now it's like I look back and I'm like, frick, I wish I spent more time with my mom, but you can't turn back time. The only thing you can do is kind of look forward and think like, okay, well, one day if I ever become a mom, what kind of mom would I want to be? And I really would like to spend as much time as I can with my kids, or my kid, or my kids, but I don't know if it's really possible in this kind of society. I think you're really playing that roulette kind of thing where you say like, okay, well, do you trust a person to not screw you over, like your friends parents, like that kind of situation where the wife got the rug pulled under her. But it's not just that. Like, what if like one person untimely passes away, right? Then if you have like multiple baby mamas and there's no will, then that goes into probate, and that's not good. That's not good at all. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I have a lot of respect for people who are single parents because it's not easy. You know, so sometimes it's like I hear these judgments about single parents, and I'm like, frick, have you ever tried? You know, how many people they make these kind of judgments? Do they raise kids by themselves? I don't think I can raise a kid by myself. Like, seriously, working and raising a kid all by myself, not good. For me, I'm not like I don't think I have that ability. I known one woman when I used to work at a health insurance place. There was this one woman. She was a single parent, and she worked really hard, you know, to balance work and the kid. But the thing is like the kid had some sort of health issue, I believe. So she always had to pick him up from school. And it got to a point where she got let go of her job because, you know, she doesn't have childcare. So if anything happens to the kid at school and the kid needs to get picked up, she needs to take off of work to pick up her child. And an employer looks at that and they're like, no, 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 you know, this is not a reliable worker. Let's fire them. So I really felt bad for that woman because it's like, you, if I had to think about it, like she's put between a rock and a hard place. What does she do? Does she want to keep her job and not pick up her kid? Or pick up her kid and possibly lose her job? And she lost her job. Because she, you know, she is unreliable, right? She's unreliable because, like, in the middle of the day, if she gets a phone call from the school, they're like, hey, you know, your kid's not feeling well, she got to pick up the kid, and yeah, employer's gonna just mark that out. It's sad, you know, it's really sad. If it's like, I wish childcare was more affordable or more accessible for single parents, but I mean, I see the price of childcare that sometimes I see. It's like freaking ridiculous. I'm like, damn. So people who have, let's say, uh, family, family, family support around them, grandparents, for instance, to pick up the kid, like, don't take, you know, that's definitely a huge freaking resource. Huge resource. Yeah, but see, surreptitious. So surreptitious says, but everyone knows that childcare is part of having a child, so no one can use that some kind of unexpected obstacle that comes out of nowhere. Well, if you don't plan on being a single parent, and your parents are dead, or your family, you're estranged from your family, and you're tasked with picking up your kid from school if the kid is sick. Like, that's a freaking huge responsibility. And again, I saw a coworker do this kind of thing, and she got fired because of it. She got let go because she took care of her kid. She had no other person that could pick up her kid except her. I don't know what happened to the baby daddy. I don't know if he was just not around or if he was, you know, in another state. Who knows? But yeah, I felt really bad for her. I really did. Yeah, childcare is like insane. Again, if childcare was more affordable, or if they had, yeah, if childcare was more affordable, or if there were more people who could take care of children when parents have to work, like if for single parents, like that would, in my opinion, alleviate quite a bit of stress. But yeah, I hear certain cases where like the freaking childcare is a couple $1,000s a month. So it's like, okay, well, you have one parent working, but childcare is so expensive that it's almost like that one parent who's working isn't really working because all the money is going over to childcare. See? Like, yikes. So it's tough, you know. It's tough, but yeah. So all that stuff is just kind of things that kind of like I like it's brought up in conversation sometimes, and I like thinking about certain things, but you know, as someone who is college educated, I know people are like, why are you mentioning? I'm just gonna say like college educated. It's like I kind of overthink certain things, and I think like, yeah, man, kids are really expensive, and you hear about the numbers, and it's like, oh gosh, and then you hear about like how much kids need in order, you know, by the how much money a kid, I guess, not spends, but resources, monetary resources a kid spends by the time they're 18. It's like, whoa, so you gotta house them, you gotta feed them, you gotta take care of them, you gotta buy them like new things, right? As a kid grows older, they need bigger shoes. They can't always wear the same kind of size of shoe. Different clothes, haircuts, you know, doctor appointments, that sort of stuff. It all freaking adds up, right? Then the kid's gonna need, oh, the kid needs a new backpack. Oh, the kid needs school supplies. Oh, the kid needs, you know, the kid wants to play tennis. So let's go get the kid some tennis lessons. Oh, the kid should learn piano. Let's pay for some piano lessons. Let's take them over to their volleyball practice too. It's like, you know, you got to cart your kid around. It's like, oh my God, it's such a freaking huge responsibility. And it really matters because it's not just having a kid, but it's making sure you raise the kid right, right? You want to make sure your kid has a good future. And one of the things you can do is try to be like, okay, well, I will provide the world for my child. I will try to make sure that they're well rounded. I want to try to make sure they have a good head on their shoulders. I want to make sure that if they want to do tennis, then I'll take them to their tennis lessons. If they want to do this or this, you know, they can try it. It's so freaking expensive. All that stuff. So let's see. T says, the reason I'm single parent is because my son's dad was mentally and emotionally abusive towards us both. Got out before escalated physical. Yeah, you know, that's the other thing too, right? Like people don't realize like sometimes the moms get out of marriages or relationships because they want to protect their own child. And it takes a lot of freaking strength to do that, right? Sometimes it's like you hear about that kind of thing where you know, domestic violence, and yeah, sometimes like the women, you know, they just they feel like yeah, they're trapped in this bad relationship when their kid is involved, and yeah, sometimes they get out, sometimes they don't, but yeah, sometimes you hear about like battered women's shelters where they really left with nothing. All that stuff. Wow. The best job she can job is, you know what? I mean, English degree is kind of useless unless you want to be a writer. But you can use that degree to pivot into other jobs, right? You can use it to work at a hotel. You can use your English degree if you really want to try to get into law school. You can use your English degree into, I don't know, some kind of communication sort of thing of sorts, right? Yeah. Yeah. Parents naturally spoil their kids and give them everything we never had. I make sure they get love, support, and attention besides the physical thing. Yeah, I think, you know, I can just only speculate what kind of mom I would be, but I imagine I'd be that mom where I would tell my kid how loved they were. I would try to do so many things with my kid. I would try to make sure the kid knows that yeah, you know, I'm always going to be on their team. I'm always going to be supporting them. I have so much pride for them. I want them to be the best that they can be. I want them to be a good person. I want them to help others. But I don't want, it's not just like me preaching, but I want them to feel that desire to help other people in the world, to see, you know, hey, look, you're very fortunate, and yeah, try to give back, you know, give back, because you know, living in a first world country, you have so much more opportunity than some people who don't, you know, who don't have the internet, for instance. So I would be that kind of parent where I would want my kid to volunteer, be immersed in how people live around the world, and then circle back and say you are so fortunate to be born in a first world country, and never, never squander it, never take that thing for granted, and try and give back to the world, kind of thing. So yeah, let's see, like that's what I would want to do. I would want to make sure that, yeah, my kid really felt loved and appreciated, and knew that I was their cheerleader. If they make a mistake, if they f up in their life, right, then I would guide them, and I would say, yeah, don't do that stuff, because if you want to be on a certain path, right, like, I don't want you getting involved in drugs. I don't want you getting involved with, like, people that won't, uh, like, I don't want you getting involved with, like, drugs. I don't want you to start tagging things, randomly, breaking into people's homes, that kind of thing, because that doesn't lead to having, like, an upstanding life, kind of thing. I really would want my kid to be more like philanthropic, right? More like a charitable person with a big heart. So yeah, that's my little preachy thing about how I would want to raise a kid, and just encourage, the kid to get involved in the community, and to see people and just be mindful about, hey, not everybody lives like this in the world, right? And I think that if you foster charitable acts and kindness within a child from an early age, they're going to be um, I don't want to say they're going to be encouraged to try to make a difference in the world, right? To be more helpful to people, because they understand, like, what they do counts. Even if it's just one freaking small action, it counts, and it definitely helps brighten the world. Yeah, I know if I had a kid, my kid would not always be an angel. I hope. I hope, but yeah, no, I'm gonna. Not always. You expect the kid to eventually act up. Oh, yeah. Oh my god, I'm so tired. Yeah. So all this stuff that I've been doing lately, and just meeting up with people. Like, tomorrow, I gotta meet up with people too. Oh my gosh! And the day after, I gotta meet up with more family and stuff like that. Oh gosh. So, I mean, there's only so much frickin' lunches and dinners I can do, right? Before I'm like, oh frick, I'm running out of frickin' time and whatnot. So, yeah, but I'm really, like, as much as tired as I get sometimes, I'm really thankful for it, because like I said, I really appreciate spending time with people. I think it's really a blessing, and I don't take my life for granted. I don't take my health for granted. I don't take the people in my life for granted. And yeah, there are times where, like, maybe I'll make a boo boo, or I'll make an error and that kind of stuff, but that doesn't mean, right? That doesn't mean that it's like, okay, someone makes a mistake or someone falls short. Like, that doesn't mean that they're a terrible person or anything like that. I don't hold grudges towards people. I realize that, yeah, if I hold grudges towards people, it doesn't make the situation any better. So I learned from a pretty freaking early age. Yeah, if you hold grudges, it just promotes feelings of unhappiness or unwellness, and that's not a life where I want to live. I don't want to live a life where I look at a person and I'm all pissed off about them. There are a few people that it's like I think they're total pieces of crap, and it's not like I hold grudges. I'm just like, yeah, this person's a piece of crap, but it's not because I'm holding a grudge towards them. But I see a lot of good people in the world. I do. I see a lot of caring people in the world. And maybe I'm just very biased over here, but I swear the people in Hawaii tend to be warmer than the people in New York. They tend to be more talkative. They tend to be more peppy. They tend to be more friendly. Um, yeah, more outgoing. More, I don't know what it is. More helpful. Not so much like people with their with yeah, not so much stuff like it, it's actually pretty like wow. So it's like I can just breathe a little easier. I don't have to watch over my back as much. Yeah, I like it. I really like it. It's more like a. It kind of makes me think to myself like, man, I wish we could bring more of Hawaii over to New York. But yeah, it's nice. You know, it's really nice to see people in Hawaii just happy-go-lucky and yeah, just very like low key, very casual, very just like smiley. And I was talking to some people and I said, look, as much as some of you guys give shit about Hawaii being slow or being, you know, not as hip as, let's say, other states or other countries. I said, never take for granted the safety we have in Hawaii. No, I'm serious. And they're like, what do you mean, Eric? I'm like, you don't understand. Like, if you're in New York, you gotta watch your own back. You gotta worry about getting assaulted or something like that. You gotta worry about hearing all this stupid, you know, our stuff, you know, coming on the street, like people hollering and or targeting you. Like, I don't have that stuff in Hawaii. So yeah, it's just like, it's life. Yep. Oh. Yeah, so big difference between New York and Hawaii. So yeah, I just wanted to make this little video. It's like 1 hour and 7 minutes, which is longer than I expected it to be. But again, I'm getting tired yet again. But yeah, I didn't make a video in the morning, so I'll make one today. Probably not gonna make one tomorrow morning. But yeah, I like making videos and chatting with you guys. And yeah, just sharing this kind of stuff. And yeah, so if you guys have good people in your life, right? Don't, again, like I said, don't take them for granted. If you know someone who's been doing good things for you, good, nice, thoughtful stuff, like my friend and their dad mowing the lawn or uh, drilling something around the house and they forget the friggin' battery downstairs, like, don't hold it against them, right? See the good in them and hold on to them, because it's much easier to just let go of people than like hold on and remember the good stuff about them. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, sometimes people are like, oh, I'm so tired of dealing with this person, you know, they always nag me. But then you say like, oh, I don't want to have them in my life anymore because they always nag me. But what people can fail to see is like, why are they nagging you? They're nagging you because they care. Or they're nagging you because you have a tendency to do certain things that, yeah, they don't think is very beneficial to you, right? Like, if you like, for instance, right, let's say you don't lock your door whenever you leave the house, and someone is telling you like, hey, you know, you didn't lock the door again, you know, I really would appreciate it if you lock the door because it's a safety measure. And they keep doing this for like 15 times, right? The person who's nagging isn't because they're a bad person. It isn't because they want to be a pain in the ass, but it's because it's a security thing, right? They don't want the house getting broken into. They don't want to, that person to get all their stuff stolen because they forgot to lock the house. But some people, right, they can see a person who's saying like, hey, you didn't lock the door again, as like, oh, this person is a nagger. Wow, I should not have this nagger in my life because they just nag. See? So it takes effort. It takes effort to just remind people about certain things. And again, they bring it up because they want to improve a person's quality of life. See where I'm getting at? So that kind of stuff. Another, uh, yeah. So all that kind of stuff, right? So, I've with my age, my ripe old age of 33 years old, I have realized that yeah, I have some really good people in my life. They're not perfect, but they're really good people. And I always try to communicate to them that, hey, you know what? I feel really thankful that you're in my life. And even though sometimes we don't have really smooth sailings, right? Sometimes we have these little disagreements or something like that. I still feel very blessed, and I still feel very appreciative that those people are around, and I don't take that kind of thing for granted. So I think for people that I've been talking to and meeting up with and things like that, it just makes me think like, yeah, it's great. I get tired of it. I get tired of like talking for hours and hours and hours of sometimes, but um, I really like just knowing that I have really good people in my life that I feel like I can trust, that I feel like have my back, and people that they've been in my life for many years, and I really hope all of them have a really long life, because one of the things, right, one of the things that I've said is that looks fade, right? I know people right now, some of them, they look significantly different than they did when they were 10, 20 years ago. But if I find that if they're a good person, usually they become higher versions of themselves in the future, right? Because it's like a good person, if they see the good in the world, they become even better. They become more empathetic, or they become more caring, or they're more yeah, they're more of a higher level. And those kind of people, they're so precious. They're such a jewel that, yeah, when I see that kind of thing, like, it rubs off on me, and I think like, wow, I am the way I am because I've been so fortunate and so blessed to have these people in my life, for sure. So yeah, and then we watch out for each other too, right? We're like, hey, what's going on, that kind of thing, and then you hear about certain things, and then you give them, gentle advice. Like if someone talks down about themselves, like I always try to nip it in the bud. I'm like, don't talk to yourself that way. You got to be kinder to yourself. Like you cannot just see the negative. You got to see like the positive as well too. And yeah, if you don't see the positive within yourself, then but you can see the positive in another person very easily, then there's a huge disconnect there, right? So yeah. Anyway, I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a good night. It's 11:22 over here. I'm getting pretty freaking tired, and yeah, I shall see you.